Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'm joined here with my buddy and pal, one Mr. Brian E. Roach. And Brian, usually it's about this time early in the episode that I ask how you're doing, but I'm not going to do that today because I have a pretty good feeling that I know how you're doing. But feel free to give us all the affirmation that we deserve.
I'm gonna just smack him because he was wrong. He's just wrong, so I'm gonna slap this bobblehead some sense.
That's bobble abuse.
That sounds way worse than it is.
Don't want you to get in trouble for that, my friend, but there's plenty of things we'll probably say or do that could get us into trouble today. The Steelers, I think we totally agree that this was a winnable game, but ends up being a 31-17 loss for the Steelers, falling to 1-1 on the season. Well, they lose some ground in the division, even despite Joe Burrow getting hurt in Cincinnati. They still took care of business against the Jaguars to go to 2-0, and then also, Cleveland has fallen behind, but they played the Ravens. Ravens get a layup there and take that one too.
41-point games in a row.
Yeah. I mean, this is a rough one. Steelers giving up 30 twice in a row. We're going to talk about turning points, defense, offense, all that good stuff, and try and keep the try. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with this game. You don't know me to be too frustrated too often or even go to leave. I even stuck around up until Mason ended up coming into the game, and then I was like, all right, time to hit the road, see if I could beat any traffic, which, you losers, I didn't even get to do that. So, speaking of which, you know what? I noticed my shirt, my Steelers shirt that I have on today. I went to pull one out of the closet that said Steel Curtain. I can't wear that. I'd be embarrassed to wear that right now. There's no way.
After the last two games? Yeah, why wouldn't
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just defense. This whole team was embarrassing. This is the September football we talk about and hope that there's some way that they can fix it. But like in previous years, we've just sat here and gone, how do they fix it? So let's first talk about some of the things that went right or wrong. Really, the turning points were this felt like it was going to be a struggle, but there was a Steelers drive in the second quarter that, first quarter and second quarter. So you had three straight scores from the Steelers after the Seahawks march down the field in their first possession and made it look easy from the opening kickoff. 8 plays, 65 yards. Steelers score in their first two drives, just field goals, and you're like, well, here comes the struggle bus. And all the more they got out of that one interception was a field goal. So I start to think maybe my opinion of Seattle is a little higher now than it was going into this game, surely, but it seemed like a turning point might have been when the Steelers went up 14-7. They not only scored, the touchdown that they had there, but also found Darnell Washington for the 2-point conversion. A good call. They go up a full 7. It feels like, hey, maybe they're at home and they're going to be kind of in control of their destiny. And then you even have the Seahawks miss a field goal. They were kind of making mistakes all over the place. You had a Jalen Ramsey interception, a Nick Herbig interception. You go into halftime feeling a little bit better. You wish they could have maybe done something before half, but you're like, hey, you're going to get the ball to start the second half. And what could possibly go wrong in this game? And the series to start the third quarter was absolute garbage. 6 plays, 19 yards, and then a punt that allowed Seattle to march down the field, take the lead, 9 plays, 80 yards. And then you had the mess of, maybe just maybe the Steelers maybe they could answer. And you had the goofiest stuff that happened. You had this ping pong ricochet Aaron Rodgers pass that bounced off the hands of Pat Freiermuth. Calvin Austin was standing right there and ends up being one of the 2 interceptions that he throws in this game. Rodgers, we'll get more into the offense, but more on, he's looking for this pass. He rifles one in there. Freiermuth once again can't haul it in, and it's a turnover where that's a turning point in the game. That's a point swing. Then you have whatever the hell Kaleb Johnson was doing on special teams. So it's just not offense. It's just not defense. You would pin this. It's like, do they know the rules? We think Danny Smith is a world-class special teams coach. Like, what the hell happened here? Like, just lost in the moment. I don't know. And he nearly touched it to begin with. Regardless if he did or not, the rule is if it lands in the landing zone, you can't just let it. You got to field it. You got to do something with it. I'm actually pretty sure too. Even if it goes back, I think they have to bring it out. If I'm not mistaken, They made some change with that.
Gets
too.
Tackled in the end zone. I think it's a safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Which would have been just as bad, but it would have been 2 points. But given the ball right back, they just gave him a gift. Gave him 7 points for free. I'm sitting there astonished that I witnessed this in a pro game. Yeah, maybe it'll be a lesson for the rest of the league, but I'm sure it's not the only team that's going to make some type of gaffe or snafu here. And then the other one that just totally got me too was just how they marched down the field with ease toward the end. 7 plays, 73 yards, and Kenneth Walker has a 19-yard TD run on the sweep, basically just slices through everyone untouched. It felt like there was very little heart, desire. I don't know. There were people talking about fatigue or whatever, but Seattle has to come over and play as a West Coast team in a 1 o'clock game in the same exact environment and conditions, and also deal with some injuries as well. Like they didn't have Witherspoon, they didn't have a Manowari in the secondary, but yet it really wasn't a problem for them.
So, I heard somebody say it's a tale of two halves, right? First half they look great, they're ahead. I'm like, let's take a step back from that. They didn't look great in the first half. The offense looked like trash in the first half. Yes, we managed to get 14 points, but we got 3 points on the first drive off of a field goal. Then we get an interception and we can only muster a field goal. Then we get another interception that we do manage to cash in as a touchdown. But it was struggle bus time to get there, right? It took an incredible DK Metcalf catch to get the touchdown there. What was clearly obvious in the first half is that the offense has zero run game. And because it's now known they can't run the damn ball, all they're doing is playing the pass. And if the defense on the other side of the team is simply playing the pass and our offensive line cannot protect our quarterback, which was also obvious in the first half, you're going to have nothing but struggles to try and move the ball and score, which is exactly what we saw in the first half. Yes, a miracle of 14-7 lead, but I don't think anybody at the end of the first half that was watching the game, right, was like, yeah, this is going to go great. Right? Because you can't count on every time that the Seahawks get the ball, we're going to get an interception. You knew they were going to find ways. They had to run the ball decently. It looked like they cleaned up a little of the run game, and then later on, it didn't look like they cleaned up a little bit of the run game. I am so annoyed that this defense that costs more than any other defense in the universe or the history of football is this atrocious. I get it. There are pieces missing, but I'm going to be shocked if Derek Harmon comes back and suddenly the run game is resolved, right? We can stop the run now. I can't imagine that's the case, but I just don't know what else to think of this. There's we'll get into it. I know there's more than just the fact that, the run defense looks poor. There are pieces of the puzzle that just aren't there right now. And that has nothing to do with missing players other than they're missing in production.
Yeah, I feel like I know there's some starters that were out. Deshaun Elliott, does he make that much bigger of a difference? Maybe he's a guy that's playing up in the box more. They try and slide Ramsey over there. Ramsey's the one guy that was playing with a lot of heart, and he even got beat, but he really felt like the one guy who gave a damn out there, opposed to everybody else. I'm just kind of like, what is going on with this team? And you had injuries. You had Joey Porter out. You had Elliott out. Queen left for a little bit. Peyton Wilson was throwing up. They even gave him a new helmet per radio. I'm listening to the radio call sometimes. I turn it on and off. when you have injured players and that, when I'm watching in stadium too and try and get an extra scoop. Queen actually
Pierre got hurt.
Queen went to the tent, so they were compensating for a lot, but it still doesn't give you a lot of confidence. I mean, even if half the guys are backups, I don't know if it's scheme, I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know, was it too hot out there? Like they practiced in this in Latrobe, like I don't want to make let's put it this way, I don't want to make any excuses. They sucked. Just flat out stunk when it come to this. Let's see what they gave up total. 117 yards, 105, and 8.1 average for Kenneth Walker, which is just ridiculous. 13 for 105 and a TD. Charbonnet was bottled up a little more. He had 15 for 10, which is awful. He didn't even gain a yard per carry, so it was like the only guy they could stop. Receiving wise, they couldn't stop Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was finding these little spots, little spots in the zone and everything like that. Let me tell you, everybody, talking about maybe Derek Carman. Derek Carman's obviously brought in to make a difference, but so is Wyatt Black. I felt like Wyatt Black had a pretty decent game. Keanu Benton is going backwards, and we saw some videos of that's around on the internet, but I saw it in the stadium. I'm talking with my cousin, Daniel Quale and Wyatt Black are there on the line, and you're playing with two defensive linemen at one point with them in. They were the only ones who got any damn pressure. Wyatt's breaking through. Did Quale have a sack? Or at least had a hit on the quarterback.
He batted a ball. He batted the ball.
Let's see. Peyton Wilson had the one on a blitz, and then Jack Sawyer, who, let's bring his name up too, a rookie that's playing an awful lot. You texted me in the middle of the game. Why is he in here so much? And because of the radio thing, they hadn't put it on the scoreboard or anything yet. We knew Alex Highsmith, ankle. Highsmith, the time's ticking because he signed the contract for some money, and he's been not healthy, and then also not producing as the same part. And we said that during the offseason. If Nick Herbig could stay healthy, guess what? You're going to keep the guy who's younger, who you could give the new contract to, and you might offload the other dude. You may even have a cap savings with Highsmith. It's week 2. It's very early to say this. I do feel more confident with Highsmith out there for the run on sealing the edge. Usually. I'm not going to say a lot, but what did you text me? Jack Sawyer, statistically, is outplaying TJ Watt, the guy who just got a big bag of money in the offseason.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about with their pieces that are there that just aren't producing. TJ Watt has 0 sacks in 2 games. I think 0 tackles for loss in 2 games. Jack Sawyer, a rookie who I absolutely said looked lost in the first game because I felt like he did. He played a little better in this game. Give him credit for that. Played more in this game. And now he's got sacks and tackles for loss. He's got a statistically better season right now than TJ Watt. Don't everybody calm down. Don't get your underwear all bunched up. I watched the game too. I know that TJ is running through 3 and sometimes 4 guys on almost every play, right? But that's the problem I have is that's incumbent then on the defensive coordinator, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, in finding a way to unleash this beast that you have. They moved him around. He was not effective in places where he wasn't, where he was moved. Like when he moved him to they flipped Nick and him a lot. They flipped sides a lot, and he was not getting as much pressure there. I don't know. I don't think he's hurt, but I can just tell you that without TJ Watt making his presence felt, this defense is never going to play at an elite level.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you on that one. People are talking about going back to last year, but they were hurt, and there's different personnel. I don't know if Hardman's a savior. I don't want to place that on the rookie's shoulders, but he can't play much worse, and he's going to get a chance to show it if nobody else can. I actually felt Benton played better. I know somebody was saying nose tackle, but I don't even think that was a base 3-4. They were doing better in a base 3-4 with Benton as a nose, and maybe Hayward. Who was on the other side of Hayward? I wanted to say it was maybe Black. It could have been Black. Some of the I'm going to go through some of the snap totals actually for some of the defenders just to give kind of an idea. I'm not going to blow everything up from a September game. There's going to be good and bad losses, but there's nothing positive to take away from this game whatsoever. I really don't have anything positive. Maybe 1 or 2 things. Maybe
the fact that Jack Sawyer showed that maybe he can play.
Yeah. Maybe. So you had,
Look, I was telling, so hi Jeff. We went to a game with one of our listeners, a guy his name's Jeff, and I was talking to him about this, and I said, there were moments in the game where you're like, okay, I feel like things are going. You got Jalen Ramsey gets the pick, which was a really nice pick. You got Herbig takes the ball after Cam bats it up in the air. Those are the kind of plays that feed this defense, right? And if they don't get those kind of plays, that kind of splash, they are not going to hold up, right? They are predicated on being that kind of a defense. I don't think otherwise they're going to be. But you had those moments, so I don't want to pretend like everything was horrible. Not every. I mean, that was a great catch, as I said, by DK in the end to get the touchdown in the end zone. The problem is, over the span of that game, you had probably 4 highlights where you could go, yeah, wow, we looked good there, and the rest of it was so underwhelming and looked so bad that you gloss over it. There are ups, is what I'm getting at. There are things to take away that are positives. They're just few of them. They're just few.
Well, not getting any pressure on the quarterback was pretty bad.
That's bad. That's bad.
There were definitely some. Apparently there were quarterback hits in this game. Wilson had one. Chuck Clark. I didn't see the Chuck Clark one. Patrick Queen, Jack Sawyer each had one. TJ apparently had 2. I'm trying to figure out how you have a pass interference with Rodgers where he stepped up in the pocket, threw it away, and there was no one there or whatever. And that was called in another game too, I think.
You mean last night grounding call? Not
the grounding call. I'm sorry. Yes, yeah. Intentional grounding, but. Darnold's just I just throw it right into TJ Watt, and it's well, there's nobody there. That was a low pass, everything like that. The funny thing is you're when I officiated in pro and college soccer, we didn't have the word intent or intentional in the rule book because they said you can't judge intent. Is it deliberate? But this is called intentional grounding, and I don't know if there's semantics at play with the NFL rule book. It looks pretty intentional that he didn't want to get sacked.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy, on that one.
We talked about that when it happened, and I couldn't remember. Was there a running back in the area? Was there somebody in the backfield that was a potential target? And then all of a sudden you can't, because now he's throwing it away not to get sacked, but if there's somebody in the area, then legitimately they don't call it, right? The problem with Aaron's was there wasn't anybody there.
There definitely wasn't anybody there. But I was just saying, it's I don't know. It's not through 2 games that I have a lot to complain about with the officiating, because I don't think it makes any difference either way. There's a call here or there, but
they're going to be bad.
Yeah,
because they're going to be bad. I'm sitting there going. I'll tell you, the team itself, and the biggest, to me, glaring issue is the offensive line, which is just atrocious.
Let's get there in a second. Hold on, we still got defense.
But what I wanted to say was the team itself has played so poorly, especially on defense, that I haven't been able to really give a crap what the refs do, because it doesn't make any difference.
Well, you had I think TJ had, it says 2 quarterback hits. I mean, most of this is forgettable. Benton apparently had one too, as did Nick Herbig. The sacks, of course, Wilson and Jack Sawyer. It's why don't they set, it feels like they're not even sending any blitzes either. It's we'll just try and get there with 4, and oftentimes you're expecting Benton, Cam, Black, whoever, to at least eat up 2 guys, and instead they're getting eaten up by 2 guys. And we've talked about that getting to the second level with some of the linebackers just slicing through, and then that's why Jalen Ramsey has to look like a hero on every single play, and he just can't do it on every play. That's just not possible. It's just not how it works. So the snap totals, you had 100% participation, 65 defensive plays between Juan Thornhill, Darius Slay, who I would say showed up also. Slay's been quiet, but that may also be kind of intentional. We always say when you don't hear a corner's name,
that's a good thing. It means you're not throwing at him. Yep.
But Ramsey's being asked to play all over the place, and he gets beat I think he got beat on a touchdown too. So,
and I'm pretty convinced that was a communication problem. Yeah. I do think that, especially in the secondary, there are so many pieces right now that they're just they're not communicating well, and not having Deshaun Elliott out there doesn't help, right? Especially in this game. I'm convinced that because that touchdown that Ramsey gave up, he was so wide open.
Yeah,
like,
it was almost the
really
same play from the Jets game too with Garrett Wilson.
Exactly.
It was almost identical to that one. Let's see here. We've got excuse me, sore throat from screaming yesterday too, Brian. Patrick Queen, of course, sat 5 plays. He went in a tent shortly. Chuck Clark 57, Peyton Wilson 56, Nick Herbig 51, 78% of the game. His jersey number, that's kind of neat, the way that works out, right? TJ played 77, Cam played 74, so they were a little tired of sucking wind. Benton 72, Wyatt Black 62, which I think 40 snaps, that's definitely a high for him, and as was for Jack Sawyer 26, 40% of the game. Brandon Eccles, same here, 23 plays for 35%. Equale 31% of the game. Cole Holcomb gets his first action of the season, and this is what I was going to bring up. And actually, let me finish the others, because Alex Highsmith only plays 10 snaps. Logan Lee ends up playing 12. Loudermilk, who also leaves the game hurt,
he got hurt,
only 6, which, you know what, I don't have the highest, maybe better off without him out there. Carson Bruner plays a snap too, because they started running out of inside linebackers at one point. Holcomb looked good. I was glad to see him out there. So when I think there is some adjustment that can be made. It might be some guys riding the pine, getting some splinters in their ass. That's what's going to end up happening, because Equale, can he do it for a full game? Is he in football shape? Is it just little splash things here? Is it kind of situational where you send out certain personnel groups because not only for substitution, give some guys a breather for key third down plays? You're going to do some of that, but just from the observation in the lens of this game, Wyatt Black, Daniel Equale, Cole Holcomb instead of Peyton Wilson looked pretty good. In fact, Cole Holcomb with Peyton Wilson didn't look so bad either. Cole Holcomb looked pretty good in there. Now, if you could get your corners back in there, maybe you get Derek Harmon in there, maybe there is some form of hope. And of course, an Alex Highsmith that needs to be healthy, who didn't play for the whole preseason, right? I don't think he was in at all. So this game is just, I don't know what else to say. I just, you gotta hope that at some point, those slants on the inside, those drag routes with a Cooper Kupp or something, it was I'm almost looking for it every single time, and it's figure it out. And when you're not getting home or putting any pressure on Darnold, he has the time to find those plays. That is more or less probably the larger part of the problem. Bring some heat, send somebody, and it just felt like it felt like it wasn't there.
I mean, like I said, it may change when Derek Harmon gets on the field, right? You may see some pressure up the middle at that point. But and that will change things, because if you're in the quarterback's face from the middle, that's always going to be more of a problem, right? So we'll see if that has an impact. But they're not getting the pressure they need to get sending 3 and 4 guys. So you're going to have to spice it up. You're going to have to try and figure out, what do we do to get that, and do it in a creative way. The problem is, the couple times that they did blitz didn't feel like it was impactful at all, or a surprise, or useful. I think Patrick Queen blitzed up the middle one time. That was effective on that play. But when you would try and do those outside, either safety blitz or corner blitz, they weren't coming close to really causing a problem. The thing I want to, and I wanted to say this at the beginning, but I just didn't, so I'll say it now. You hear that idiom all the time, that is, your strength, you build your team from strength, and you always start in the middle, right? And you start at the lines, and then you build from there, right? The problem right now is, on both sides of the ball, the lines are not doing their job. On the defensive side of the ball, they're not stopping the run effectively. That is going to be primarily the fault of the defensive linemen, right? And that they're getting washed away. They're not pushing back. They're being bullied. And that's not something you expect to see. We saw that in the Jets game. We saw it again in this game. The offensive line that you hope is bullying, they're also getting bullied. They can't pass protect. They can't run block. It's a mess. It's a mess, right? You look at Rodgers, who is taking 2 steps and then having to move because pressure's coming. Again, pressure up the middle. Mostly, I think, from the guard position. I think if you look at everything... The center is doing his job, but again, if that's the only guy doing the job, it's not going to work. But I've said all along, McCormick, I think he's a tough guy, right? But he's not strong enough. He's not getting pushed, and he's not able to pass protect. Those are problems. We talked about that during the draft process. They need to. I don't want to go into the season with Mason McCormick as my starting guard, but that's where they're at. Maybe they'll get better. But I feel like we've been saying that for 3+ years now.
Well, it's
maybe
not all the
they'll
same
get better.
guys for 3+ years. But you know what, Brian?
I know.
How'd you feel about Broderick Jones? Because I felt like he had a better game. I didn't think he was the focus point of the blame on the offensive line. I think you're absolutely right with Mason McCormick. I had a huge problem with Mason McCormick in this game. Troy Fautanu also got penalized.
He got hit for a holding call. It was bad. It was a bad holding call. But it was, if he doesn't do it, Rodgers getting crushed.
And Malo too has not looked sharp. And he's been another guy that getting a slow start to this season. He wasn't practicing. He wasn't playing in preseason games. He was getting some veteran privilege there, with some of this stuff. So it's going to take some time to gel. I liked one of the radio callers in a Steelers postgame with Mike Pursuta and Charlie Batch. He kind of said the same thing about, give Broderick Jones, probably give him more of a flyer than most of us, including me and you, because he said, look, he's been used to doing something else for the last 2+ years, and this is only his second game being over there, and already maybe a little better. And they're giving him some help. No doubt they're giving him some help, and that's what they're going to have to do in certain cases. Slide the protection over if it's Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, whatever it may be, which is funny, too, because Jaylen Warren ends up returning kicks after the Kaleb Johnson was firmly put. Talking about splinters in his ass.
I'm telling you, that mistake was so bad that if that's like your 5th or 6th round draft pick, he's cut the next day, right? You're not going to do it with a 2nd round draft pick, but look, this game and this team is just a hot mess, right? They got a lot of problems. They got to go to New England next week, and I'll tell you right now, I don't think they win that game. Not the way they've been playing. Yeah,
I don't know, because New England's at least able to put up some points with Drake May or whatever. But we'll get into New England preview later. And, Vrabel and the way that he prepares for games, playing on the road. They're playing a lot of road trips, too, because then you got to go to Ireland. Maybe this bye week actually does come at a good time, and they could get healthy, rest up, and then get some, 3 out of 4 at home or whatever, or a short bus trip, I think, to Cincinnati, something like that.
Well, let me make this point here that I was talking about. You got a Jets team that put up 30-something points on this defense, right? And then they go to Buffalo and they can put up 3? I don't remember if they scored more after that. Fields gets benched, right? So that's clearly a bad offense that whipped our butt on defense, right? We just happened to outscore them. You go and you're talking about New England. I don't think that's a good offense, but they put up 30 points, and they can put up points. I'm scared of any team that can put up points right now. Why? Because they only have to do 2 things. Score on their side, which seemingly we don't know how to stop, and prevent the pass. That's it. They don't have to worry about run defense. We can't run the damn ball. So,
and it looked like
it's a problem.
Yeah, it looks like the Steelers tried to run the ball. By the way, the Jets, that final score was Buffalo 30, Jets 10, Justin Fields 3 of 11 in that game passing. So Jaylen Warren here, 14 of 48, 3.4, 9-yard long. He had that huge 65-yard reception. He caught 4 passes for 86 and got down the field. But the rest of the team, Kenneth Gainwell, 5 for 20 for 4. But there's only so much you could do, and once Johnson makes that very critical error, it flips the way the teams now call plays.
100%. You're screwed.
Yeah.
At that point, you go from being down 3 to being down 10, and it's late in the game, and you're like, do we even have enough time to score enough points to get back into this? Especially, knowing our defense has been playing the way they're, you could feel, and I want to say this too.
Yeah, you could feel it.
You could feel the air go out of the stadium when that happened. It was like nobody in that stadium, and people did start to leave, right?
Yes.
If we had escalators, we would have had our own escaloozer going on right then and there. But, at the same time, oh my God, the number of empty seats in that stadium yesterday. What the hell was going on? Was it just that it was a beautiful day and people decided to stay out in the parking lot instead of coming in? Or did as many people that watched that Jets game go, yeah, I ain't impressed?
It filled in
and
some.
Not show up.
I think there are a lot of people. I hate, especially the start of the second half. Either need a longer halftime, or the Steelers, the Acrisure Stadium people need to figure something out with the concession lines. I won't buy anything in this stadium because people just end up standing there. And if you're the visitor, you have a chance to defer. Do it every time. There's like 20,000 people in the stands, and maybe 5,000 of them are your fans. So, like, you're not going to get any crowd noise because everybody's waiting to either use the latrine, or I almost said the pisser, but I may as well just say it anyways, and then get a pop or whatever, and it takes you a full quarter to get it. Like, or maybe they're too hot. The sun was brutal. I know you're in the shade. I'm in the shade after about the first quarter. And if you're wearing black, even if you're not, the yellow seat, the gold seats radiate. I've said this for years, man. That sun was brutal. I mean, it was only like 83, 84 out there. It felt like it was like 92 or something. And when you got guys throwing up on the field, again, I'm not trying to make it fatigues you. The heat will fatigue you.
Absolutely. And the defense was on the field a lot.
So
you do understand that. I mean, it doesn't help when the defense can't get off the field, which was a problem in the second half. And the offense isn't backing them up with nice, long, sustained drives. You're not playing complementary football, which they're not doing. It's a problem. But, from my seats, like if I'm not mistaken, you're like down towards the end zone, right?
Yeah, below the newer scoreboard that they put in the corner.
I get to see the full. It's harder to see the full spectrum on the other side. There were empty seats on the other side of the stadium just through the whole game, and a lot of them. Because I saw a lot of yellow, and it wasn't just after halftime. It wasn't just at the beginning of the game. And I'm sitting there going, like, I gave up on it in the fourth quarter because, you expect everybody has gone and left at that point, right? Sorry. Slight technical interruption by somebody deciding to tell me that my car is ready to be picked up.
Oh, there you go. That's a good thing, right?
At least that's what I think it was.
Paid attendance was 66,347. So somebody
there
that
were
bought
not
some tickets
66,000 people in that stadium.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, there were not.
The tailgate lots felt pretty big. I'm gonna close out some more on the offense. I mean, I heard this on SiriusXM NFL Radio. Rodgers, or I should say, the Steelers against the Seahawks. Seahawks defense pass rush win rate. One of these words we hate, like one of these thrown around PFF analytical things, was it's 48% was the number that I heard. It was nearly 50%. Rodgers was hit 8 times. He's been hit 15 times so far this season, sacked another 3. Another one of these ones where he moves up in the pocket. He has been holding the ball for a little while, so you've got guys that aren't getting open too. So it's not all just the offensive line. In some cases, Rodgers either not getting rid of the ball or guys aren't getting open. And then you have
or he can't.
Yeah, or he can't. Terrible interceptions, I think both of them. Not necessarily on him. The one is like just desperation toward the end. But the one with Freiermuth was just like, that's another major swing.
That's a ping pong ball. That's not his fault.
5 for 50.
Unless you want to blame him for even trying to make that pass.
Yeah.
But
so, I mean, if you keep him clean... But he did not look sharp. Some of the passes he threw, DK Metcalf dropping 1 or 2 that probably should have been in his hands. Freiermuth dropping. There was a nice, beautiful deep throw from Rodgers.
And that's what I want to say. That pass that got dropped, that's on the receiver. That was one of the best throws I've seen any Steelers quarterback make in a long time. That ball was right where it needed to be. He did it off balance. That was the patented Rodgers flick of the wrist kind of a throw. And it was there and it got dropped. And you just go, okay, I get it. They're just not in sync as a team right now on a whole. The chemistry's not there. It's off. I don't know. Was it just a bad game? We'll see. But after leaving that game, taking into account, that they did manage to win in New York, after watching both those games, I'm just being honest. I have
no confidence.
No confidence. I don't know that this offense can score a point against the Browns defense. The Browns have a good defense,
which is weird
when they're not worn down.
Yeah, exactly.
The Ravens beat the crap out of them by the end of the game, but that's, I don't know how much of that may have been due to turnovers and other things that the offense put the defense in bad situations.
Did last year. You don't have Flacco and company can't sustain any type of meaningful drives, and they're just getting burned out there. So,
do you think this team can beat Buffalo? Do you think this team can beat the Ravens at once? Do you think this team can beat the Bengals with a backup quarterback? Actually, I do.
Actually, I do. I think they were aided. They were aided by some of that. I think they're built to play and compete against the teams within the division. We saw some of that 3 linebacker look and stuff like that. There was a good point made when you talk about like what's next or whatever. There was a good point that was made. Max Starks, before he closed out with Rob King on the radio call, and he said, in the grand scheme of things, this game, non-conference, non-common opponent, et cetera, so the loss in the tiebreaker realm outside of wins losses isn't going to hurt as much as if they played somebody like Bills, Chiefs, or especially somebody within the division. So you can at least take that.
It's true.
In 1-1. I still think New England's a team that it's not
they
like
should
the teams we just mentioned.
They should win that game, but they should have won this game, right? If your defense is the defense that we expected it to be, you should have won this game. The Jets game shouldn't have been as close as it was. The problem is it's not, right? So I'm just going by the impact of my eyes, and my eyes tell me this team's not ready to play anybody right now.
The preparation, maybe. I'd be like, I don't know. I can't place my finger on it. I'm not going to try to pretend. I did say on defense, there's some things they could change there too. I don't know. 100%. Calvin Austin, I know Roman Wilson got in just a little bit. He might have been targeted, but got his first catch. It was something like a quick out pass or something late. Offensive line, I don't know that there's a lot that you could do with that. But you still got Spencer Anderson. So if McCormick is kind of underperforming, it might be worth, you might look at somebody, but I know Tomlin doesn't like to change those things too much, and you have a very early bye, so do you change it by then? Probably not either, but you got to get Jonnu Smith a little more involved. He didn't really get involved until the second half.
No.
Firemuth, let's put it this way, like you said, he should have won this one. It's who made more mistakes, and the end of it, the Steelers made far more mistakes. Even with all of the giant lanes giving up the runs and everything that happened, you don't have that fluke interception. You don't have Johnson make that stupid play in the end zone and give him some points. It's a completely different game that Seattle has to play, probably trailing from behind. Maybe we see a little more out of the defense. Maybe they throw some more passes. Maybe somebody gets a pick or a strip sack. You never know what ends up happening, so the game script completely flips. But in this case, it flipped towards Seattle. They took advantage of it, and the Steelers were pretty much helpless to do anything about it. They were handcuffed. Provided they can limit more of those mistakes in the future, I think they should be able to compete with the Patriots. I think they should be able to compete with the Vikings too. Just don't. Brian Flores is a great defensive coordinator, but you don't know
what you got.
Yeah.
You look at week 1 versus week 2 in the Vikings, you just don't know what you got there yet, right? Is JJ McCarthy going to be a good quarterback, or is he going to be a mediocre quarterback? You don't know.
Yeah,
it's his first year. You don't know, and you've got a up and down performance over the first 2 weeks. So when we get to Ireland, which version of that team are you going to get? You don't know. The thing that makes me nervous about New England next week is that they have been able to score, and that is somewhat problematic because we have proven thus far that we are not necessarily able to stop people from scoring. We'll see. I'm concerned that could be a Travion Henderson breakout game.
Oh
next
man,
week.
I mean, he hasn't been playing a whole lot yet, but what can the Steelers do? Offensive line retooling. Maybe you got one sub. I'm not ready to yank Broderick yet. I'm not really even ready to yank McCormick yet, but
You make a good point about Broderick. It was a better game, but I think they understand they're going to have to give him some help. What I think is really going to have to happen, they've got to figure out how to be much more of the style of offense that they were with Ben near the end of his career.
Shotgun. You tried to put
Everything's
Ben
out
under
of the
center
back.
too.
Yeah.
They're doing that. Arthur Smith wants Rodgers to do that. It's not something he's done in his career, and he doesn't have time to make even a 2-3 step drop and then have anything materialize or do anything downfield. You're gonna have to operate out of the gun. And I think
they want to try and build. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think Jaylen Warren would operate pretty good out of that too, possibly, and even Kaleb Johnson for that matter, if he ever gets a chance. What do you get? A carry or two in this game? So
one, I think. Anyway, it's. Here's the thing: is I get it. His offense is predicated on trying to build up to have play action. The problem is you can't get play. Nobody buys play action fakes when they know you can't run the ball, right? You need to retool based on what you are actually seeing your offense capable of doing until you can fix the problems, right? If you can start to build a run game, you can go back to that. But for right now, yeah, it needs to be an offense that is predicated on getting the ball out immediately, right? Which means you got a lot of short routes, a lot of small slants, and then you if you can be successful doing that, right? Now the defense has to react to that, and you can set up a long throw every now and then. But you can't be an offense that is going to try and have Rodgers do, 3-5 step drops and wait. Because it's not good. They're not getting enough time, right? 2 seconds go by and he's got to get moving because the pressure is there. And, it's just, it doesn't work. He can't stay on his spots. He's constantly moving. You watched him pump fake that ball or pull the ball back down multiple times on multiple pass plays simply because nobody's open, right? The routes are taking too long to develop. It's just not working. You have to figure out a way to take advantage of what you are able to get, because until you make changes, and we've seen this in the past with stubborn offensive coordinators, until you make some changes, the defenses that they're going to play are going to do exactly what Seattle did. They're going to play the pass first and the run second, and it's going to be next to impossible for that offense to move the ball.
Yeah, it didn't even feel like Seattle blitzed a whole lot either. Like here or there,
they didn't need to. They were getting pressure with 3.
I know they were getting there. It's sad to say. Some guys on roller skates. Any closing thoughts, Brian? I still think it got a better shot of this one play. I can't believe there's 2 guys there and neither one of them come down with the ball. I couldn't believe the ball just didn't hit the ground, to be completely honest.
I'm just going to say this. I like Calvin Austin III as a complimentary receiver. I don't think he's not a wide receiver 2 to me. He's a guy that has talent, right? But he doesn't have the best hands in the world, right? He just doesn't. We've seen it too many times. Every now and then he'll make an amazing catch, but for the most part, dropsies. I'm pissed off at DK. Too much dropping. Like, you make that incredible. Like, I hate those receivers that can make the incredible catch but can't catch the ball that's right in their hands. What the hell is going on with that? And I didn't anticipate DK being that kind of guy. But and I'm not saying he is going to be that kind of guy. I wore my DK Metcalf jersey yesterday. I'm still super excited. I wanted this guy to be a Steeler from the get-go. So I'm super excited he's here. But man, it can't be the first pass out of the gates every week gets dropped, and sometimes the second and third. They've got to be better at what they can do. Otherwise, they're just going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I'd still think it's early to just judge too much. Ugly game.
It is.
Collapse all the way around. Get some other bodies healthy. Maybe rotate in some other players if you have some underperforming ones. I think there's depth there that they could at least reach into in a few areas if need be. We'll talk a little bit more about that later this week when we preview Week 3 at Gillette Stadium up in Foxborough. So
I got one other question for you.
Yeah,
did
go right ahead.
Peppers get a single snap? Did he get on the field at all?
You know what? And of course, I just lost that. Let me pull it back real quick. But short answer is I don't believe he was in on defense, but he did play some special teams. if I recall correctly, because I went through the whole defense and we didn't mention him. I would have liked to have seen him. Yeah, he was only on special teams, actually seven reps. In fact, Julius Peppers the only guy on the field that was going after the freaking ball when Johnson did it. And because I was like, I still haven't processed that he's wearing 40, right? It's like a new person.
Well,
there's a lot of new numbers out there. So
I also going to say this. I had seen enough of Kaleb Johnson as a return man after the first game.
Yeah, they've got to do something with that.
100%. If you put Kaleb Johnson back in that game as a returner, you're making a mistake. He is not good at it. He is slow. As far as break, you need a different kind of guy. We can't keep starting.
Dante Kemp.
Yeah,
maybe
we
cannot
get in there. Start behind the 20 on kickoffs at this point in the game, right? No. They're designed to get you out to at least the 25 or 30 every time. You're getting the ball short constantly. You can't it just can't.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating with that I'm fed up with it. That the Seahawks are getting the balls out at the 35, the 30, sometimes the 40, and we're sometimes behind the 20. Come on. That has to change. I'm done with seeing Kaleb Johnson as a returner. They got to come up with something else, and I don't want it to be Jaylen Warren because you can't risk him at this point. That position.
No, you can't. And where else do you go? Patterson had some of the worst numbers, not only of his career, but across the league last year, where they tried to do this with the new kickoff rules. They had Jamal Agnew for a hot minute too, and I thought that was to put some pressure on Patterson. He's with the Jaguars, so you can't even go out there and get him. So what dedicated kind of return players do you have? I don't even know who they have in-house other than the guy Dante Kent, who's on IR. And I don't know that he puts another DB or maybe a regular wide receiver out there. Very few and far between, unless it's been somebody like a Patterson or way back when Jacoby Jones, somebody like that's been dedicated to it. It's always been a backup. It's been Felix Jones and Jalen Samuels and
if you're not going to give Roman Wilson snaps, let him do it.
He's fast too.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's.
You got to do something else because it's just not working.
Yeah, I don't know if he's done it. Hell, Ben Skronik's pretty much the utility guy and all the way around everything. Yeah. Thank God he's out there on special teams because he's made a difference. Because special teams has looked spotty, and because of the injuries, you get guys like a John Radigan who came from the UFL or whatever. That's getting. Yeah, I saw he had more snaps on special teams than Peppers did, but he's not. He's probably playing more than just coverage units too. So, but that'll do it for us, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But thank you for watching or listening to the show wherever you may be. We will have the Patriots pregame later this week. Tune in for that. We may have some other ideas. Some of that we already kind of leaked through to you 2%ers. So with that, we will say peace out to everybody. Take a long, deep breath. Let's regroup next week and see if we have a better result. Till next time, my name's Joe. That's my buddy Brian. Try and smile a little bit. Try.
It's a little hard to do
today, man. It's not a victory Monday. It's not a victory Monday, which is never a good Monday. So until the next one, folks, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.